Liz Thompson was deployed to Manus in early February to interview and assist detainees to make their refugee applications. She was there during the violence on the Sunday and Monday of the previous week. On the Monday night, she could hear the mayhem from her room and spoke with multiple eyewitnesses the following day.
It was certainly clear from what I was hearing that a lot of what happened occurred inside the perimeter fence, and that there'd been a breach of the perimeter fence by locals who'd come in and attacked people. People described being pulled out of their beds, and we know obviously we got those communications from within the comms room in my compound.
On Tuesday, it became clear that asylum seeker Riza Barati had been killed on Monday night and more than 50 others injured. Liz and her team were sent back to work on Wednesday.
That was the idea. We would go back in and start reprocessing people and show everyone that this is business as usual, that someone's been brutally murdered and that it's business as usual. Obviously we were given the line from the department that, a man has died because he breached the perimeter fence. He was outside the centre when that happened. That was re-emphasised to us in a meeting with immigration. I walked out at that point because I just couldn't hear them further justifying what had happened.
On Thursday, she resigned, the first Manus staff member to publicly do so, and left the island on Friday.
Yes, and so I couldn't continue.
The Manus Island facility reopened in 2012. This is the naval base at Manus. The refugee centre is inside of it, just over that rise. Technically, it's a regional refugee processing centre to be run by Papua New Guinea. But remarkably, there was no processing whatsoever. Last year, Dateline broke the story of how not a single refugee had been interviewed to assess their asylum claims. Not one since Manus had reopened 9 months previously.
They're asking all the time when they're going for the processing.
But some of these people have been there since it opened?
Yeah.
A situation which disturbed PNG Prime Minister Peter O'Neill.
But we are concerned, and we have expressed our concern to the Australian officials. We will not allow these issues to just drag on forever. There must be some conclusion to it, and some decency is given to all the people in the process.
2 months later, Liz Thompson was part of the first team to start the interview process, but it was stopped after 2 weeks. At the beginning of this month, the interviews began again, an event that should have alleviated tension in the camp, but it seems to have escalated it.
We were sent there as a claims assistance provider, so the idea is that we would assist the asylum seekers to individually put together their refugee status determination claims.
Liz and the other interviewers were instructed to advise claimants that their only option was to be settled in PNG, not Australia, nor any third country.
But we were informed when we went there very quickly this time around that resettlement, we were not to discuss resettlement, we were not to discuss third country options. Third country meaning not PNG, not your home country.
As part of your instructions to go into these interviews?
Yes.
Not to discuss a third country, and obviously not to discuss Australia?
That's absolutely not to discuss Australia.
Why? What was the point of that instruction, so that people would understand that they're to be settled in PNG?
Yes, that's right. And this was despite the fact that while we were there, we would watch on the TV in the camp and read the newspapers. We would see that the Papua New Guinean government had actually not made any decisions about resettlement and where people were to be settled, that there's no visa that people can be given. And we're not the only ones who knew this. The guys in the camp are quite intelligent. They pay attention to what's going on. They're trying to make decisions about their lives. And so they were fully aware that the Papua New Guinean government had not actually made any decisions. But it was made very clear to us every day, sometimes even twice a day, under the threat of being removed from the island. We were not to talk about third country. We were not to suggest that there was any resettlement options. We were not to suggest that they were able to get off PNG. You need to stick to the script or you'll be taken off the island.
Were you spoken to about going off script?
Yes. So, for example, there's certain groups of clients who it's obvious that they can't settle in PNG, gay clients, okay, because of PNG sodomy laws. So they would face persecution in Papua New Guinea because of those laws that essentially outlaw homosexuality.
Presumably, you can't settle a gay man in Papua New Guinea.
No, you can't. And
yet, so what do you say to when the man tells you he's gay? What do you say to him?
I would say, explain sodomy laws, and then of course the question would be, oh well, okay, then I can't settle on PNG, and I would say, we know that. We're aware of that. That's an issue that we're aware of.
But you're not meant to say that.
Weak response, but that was what I said, and that information was reported to Canberra.
And you got in trouble for that?
Yes. We are told to tell people to keep them focused on resettlement in PNG. Resettlement in PNG is what's going to happen. But they know that's not the case. They know that, they watch the news, they read the newspapers, they know what's going on around the camp. They know that there's no decision from the Papua New Guinean government on resettlement. So what that means is not just you're never getting out of this camp. It is indefinite detention. While we play this charade...
You're not coming to Australia, they know that.
You're not coming to Australia. There is no other third country option.
No other they think, well, they were told they were going to be resettled in PNG, but that is not a likely option in your view.
That's right. That's what we
know.
know.
And they know that.
We know that and they know that. We're not allowed to say that, but we all know that's
amongst the staff,
case.
you'd know it, with your managers.
Of course. We knew that this was ridiculous, but we were lying to people and we were told to keep that message going, to keep it clear.
So it's hard to keep a straight face when a guy is saying to you, well, where am I going? You're saying you're going to PNG, settled, and you don't believe it.
Yep.
And he doesn't believe it.
Yep.
And do you think that is one of the reasons why this came to such a head
yes.
just a week ago?
Yeah, because,
after the interviews had begun?
Because what they realised, what they wanted was not just the interviews and a process, thing to feel better about, something to be involved in. They want to know where they're going.
So the government can say the interviews have begun, which has been criticised internationally for.
That's right.
The interviews have begun.
Yeah, the interviews have begun, everything's happening, but what's not happening is any clarification about where they're going to end up. So there is no process. The process doesn't lead anywhere except to indefinite detention.
So they're there forever.
Yep.
So rather than alleviating tension, the interviews actually exacerbated the tension.
Absolutely.
Things came to a head on Sunday the 16th, a direct response to what Liz describes as the lies being told in the interviews.
I believe that what happened was completely predictable and that it was allowed to happen, that tensions were allowed to build up, that the misinformation was allowed to circulate, that people were allowed to be, kind of driven into a frenzy about what was going to happen.
You're at the coalface in this. You're in the compound, basically.
Yeah, I was in the compound on Sunday night when the protest started in Oscar. We were actually stuck next to Oscar. We couldn't leave.
Yeah, you're talking to the asylum seekers, so you're getting this. Are you passing your concerns up the chain?
Yeah, but they don't go anywhere. I mean, obviously, after all of our interviews, we would talk about how impossible it was to, put this message across. And I mean, the only people who were being honest about what was going on was, members of the Papua New Guinean Parliament, other people, who staff at the centre who it's rumoured that they were being frank with people about what the Papua New Guinean government had decided and, in those meetings.
On Sunday, Liz believes that a PNG official spoke frankly to the detainees, that the PNG government had not made a decision to resettle them, to give them their freedom. Whatever small gap had been open to them was shut that day.
I suspect that he was more honest about what was actually going on, which obviously we weren't allowed to do, but yes, that's what happened on Sunday. That's what happened on Sunday is, the meeting occurred and then the protest started very soon afterwards. People...
It seemed that he called a spade a spade. It's not clear that they're going to be resettled in Papua New Guinea.
Which is simply what members of the Papua New Guinean Parliament had been saying that very week.
So what happens for you now? Will you go back? Or...
I don't imagine I'll be allowed back to Manus Island. I wouldn't, and I would not go back because there is no process. There's nothing for me to do. There's no process for me to assist people with. It's fake. I don't believe that there's a way to fix this. It's not designed as a processing facility. It's designed as an experiment in the active creation of horror to secure the deterrence, and that's why, I say again that Reza Barati's death was it's not some kind of crisis for the department. It's actually an opportunity. It's an opportunity to extend that logic one step further to say this happens, but deterrence continues. Operation Sovereign Borders continues.